Yesterday's PlayStation event didn't go as smooth as some might have hoped, including myself, and there was some indeed controversy that was levied by Sony themselves, and we might get into some of that, but I wanted to talk about some of the announcements that were made after the fact by Sony's own Jim Ryan, the head of PlayStation, because I felt like there was some pretty big announcements that obviously that they were going to announce not during that show, but probably after. They treated that very much like sort of an E3 presser, where they announced a bunch of games and things like that, and we got the price and the release date, but there were also many things, obviously, that they needed to clarify afterwards, and I feel like they did a pretty good job of doing that, and I gotta say that what they had to say was pretty incredible, and it really just goes with the flow of what they said. Was it a perfect event? No. Was there flaws all around? Absolutely. But again, this is something that we're going to touch on and hopefully kind of unravel a bit. What's up, everybody? Crapgamer here with Crapgamer Reviews, back with another video. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really do appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe. I would appreciate that as well. It helps out the channel, and it means a lot to me personally. If you guys are looking for a way to support a small YouTube channel such as mine, the best way to do that is a simple like. I kid you not. All you have to do is like the video. If you really want to take a minute to consider subscribing, please do so as well. That would be fantastic. I do daily content every single day, and it's all unscripted, off the cuff, my own passionate thoughts and opinions on what's going on in the video game world. Sometimes I learn stuff. Sometimes you guys learn stuff. Sometimes we learn stuff together. It's all a good time, but I really do appreciate the support and things like that. Shout out to all the old subscribers, new subscribers, everybody in between. You are absolutely phenomenal, so thank you so much for all the support. I really do appreciate it. Now, certainly there were some issues. I would say for me personally, the biggest issue was the way that they handled the pre-orders, okay? Because they made a promise that they would let us know about the pre-orders ahead of time and give us plenty of time to get ready and things like that. So when initially they didn't give a pre-order date, I was a little bit confused, and I called GameStop, and they were like, yeah, we're going to start taking pre-orders tomorrow. And I thought, okay, that's good. Then I started doing the podcast last night. If you guys missed it, it is up. You guys can check that out. Myself, Mooch, and others, we were podcasting, and then towards the end of the podcast, we literally hear how people are pre-ordering their PS5s at GameStop and these various other locations. So then they got us all kind of wondering exactly what can we do, what do we do to, at that point we kind of ended the podcast abruptly so that we could go ahead and, try to score our PlayStation 5s, which thankfully I was able to get to GameStop and secure my PlayStation 5 and, all as well. But I shouldn't have had to do that. You people shouldn't have to do that. They promised something otherwise completely different, so that's probably what they should have kept up with in the first place. The other part that was a little bit odd to me was they said that they believe in generations, and I get the whole thing where this is going to sound like damage control or whatever, but I think you also have to look at Sony's track record. Sony supported the PlayStation 3 into 2017. They supported the PlayStation 2 into 2012. They're going to continue to support the PS4. And the PS2 still got exclusives after the PS3 launch. It got God of War 2 a full year after the PlayStation 3 launched, and the PlayStation 3 got exclusives. I'm not sure if there was cross-gen exclusives on the PS3. I don't think so, because they were so late in getting the exclusives out. But when the PS4 launched, Little Big Planet 3 was a cross-gen game. They had a couple other ones like Resogun and stuff like that were cross-gen. Not everything. They cut out the supporting the older console with content themselves pretty quickly, which I suspect they'll do here as well. But even if you go back to May of this year, Sony confirms PS5 will have exclusive games playable only on next-gen hardware, and you can read what Jim Ryan says. He says they will have games you cannot play on existing PlayStation 4 devices, and he said he wants to give PlayStation fans something new and completely different that can only be enjoyed on PlayStation 5. But he also fully said that they plan on supporting the PlayStation 4 as well, and I thought that was something that a lot of people keep on forgetting. Yes, I'm bummed out. I wish Horizon 2 would be fully on PlayStation 5. I wish that Miles Morales would be fully on PlayStation 5. I wish that Sackboy would be fully on well, I guess that one doesn't really matter as much as the other two, but there are games that are going to be PlayStation 5 only, including Demon's Souls Destruction All-Stars, Godfall, God of War was announced, Ratchet and Clank, Gran Turismo 7. These games have been announced as PlayStation 5 only games. So I get it, and I'm upset too. At the end of the day, it is a very interesting situation to say the least, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on at PlayStation with Jim Ryan. He said he wanted to give gamers the certainty that they're buying a true next generation console. So obviously there's a handful of AAA first party games that will delight the PlayStation 5 owners. Some of them are going to be cross-gen or whatever. It kind of is what it is. But PlayStation head Jim Ryan is aware of Microsoft's emergent strategy. Since they last spoke to him, Phil Spencer made comments that played down the generational switch, arguing that it was the counter to what gaming is all about, to force gamers to buy a specific device on day one. And, they're going to kind of go that way. It's the opposite of what Sony was doing. And Jim Ryan seemed eager to address it with his opening briefing following the PlayStation showcase. He says 7 years now, and a lot happened. We're obviously on one hand built this large community, but on the other, there's a lot of technology changes and advances, which only really interests us in the extent that they're easily transformative change in the way that people play and experience games. For us, the time to capture that and make a big step is with the console transition of a platform transition. And we call that a generational approach. We know it's not the only model, but it is the one that we like. Our models are possible. It is perfectly legitimate to pursue the approach more around the community of gaming experiences. We like to be a bit more nuanced in that. We find a way to give different segments of the community gaming experiences more approachable to their needs. So obviously they're kind of doing that, but one of the main things that I thought was interesting was one of the things that they sort of kind of talked about, because a lot of people were in the idea that Sony has to follow the same things that Microsoft does, and they obviously don't have to do that. And this is the perfect example of that, because they brought up Game Pass, right? And what Jim Ryan said was, and I quote, "For us, having a catalog of games is not something that defines a platform. Our pitch, as you've heard, is new games, great games. We have had this conversation before. We are not going to go down the road of putting new release titles into a subscription model. These games cost many millions of dollars, well over $100 million to develop. We just don't see that as sustainable." So they're basically saying it's not a sustainable thing the way that Microsoft does things. And Microsoft, we've heard say, hey, this is something that isn't making us a bunch of money right now. Now listen, maybe if you had 100 million subscribers paying full price all the time for that stuff, it'd be one thing. But if you're releasing 3 or 4 games that cost hundreds of $millions to make and millions of dollars more to market, it doesn't make sense, because you're not going to make that back. You just have to look at something. Look at Ori and the Will of the Wisps, right? That's an IP owned by Microsoft. Yet at the same time, it only did 2 million quote-unquote players, despite it being on Steam, PC, Xbox, and now it's going to the Nintendo Switch. Obviously, they kind of gets lost in the whole process of being in a subscription service where there's all these other games, a lot of them just like it. There's a lot of these kind of platformers that are out there. So that's a very interesting kind of point that they're saying we're not going to do this. And I said this a while ago. Everybody told me that they would have to do it, follow suit, and all this kind of stuff. And I said I don't really think they do. They're not in a hurry to lose a bunch of money by doing that, especially when you look at all the money they made off of The Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima launching. So while there are some concerns with Sony, and they should have handled some things better, obviously, I do feel like they have a really good pitch for the PlayStation 5. And it's not like they're going to keep putting everything on it, which is exactly what Microsoft is doing. They said for the first 2 years, everything, or up to the first 2 years, everything from the first party is going to be on the Xbox One as well. This is a different strategy than that, as obviously there are things launching on the PlayStation 5 that aren't available on the PlayStation 4, and that'll continue to do so. Yes, I truly wish that Horizon and Miles Morales weren't on PlayStation 4 as well, but at the end of the day, like I said, it just sort of is what it is. They messed up in that aspect, in my opinion. They messed up. But is that going to stop me from wanting a PlayStation 5? No. people can get what they want, people can spend their own money on what they want. It's really up to you guys. For me, is it worth it? Absolutely. That's something that, you know, I made my mind up a long time ago. So yes, I'm very excited by the prospects that we're getting with the PlayStation 5. I managed to pre-order mine. I've pre-ordered games. Am I bummed about some stuff? Absolutely. But am I more positive about the other stuff? Absolutely, because I feel like Sony have a good idea of what type of gamer I am and what they're going to offer. So again, I'm not letting them off the hook. I said that they probably should have been more clear with a lot of that stuff. In particular, I was disappointed with the pre-order scenarios, but other than that, I think Sony did a pretty good job. I like seeing the games. I like the games being the focus of everything, and that's the main and most important part. And the fact that they're not going to cheap themselves out by having a subscription model for their new games really pleases me, because I do feel like Microsoft allows that to really kind of be a spot where they release half-finished games and games that have a ton of intrusive microtransactions, and I just don't like that plan at all. Like, I don't like it. You know, spend time, focus on getting a full game out that's ready without microtransactions, and I feel like that quality is still going to continue to be there for Sony that just isn't there for Microsoft. And, you know, again, I would also say if the cross-gen games that we saw, like Spider-Man Miles Morales, looked as bad as we saw Halo Infinite, I would be much more upset, but it really wasn't the case, even though it will still be held back. So anyway, with that being said, let me know what you think. I will link all of this stuff, of course, and you can check it out. Please let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Please stay safe, happy, and healthy. Have a fantastic day. Rack 'em up. Game on, my friends. Game on. Crapgamer, out.
Unscripted.